The conflict between India and Pakistan is one of the oldest and most dangerous in the world. Since 1947, both countries, neighbours and nuclear powers, have fought several wars and skirmishes, mainly over the disputed region of Kashmir. What began with the partition of British India has evolved into more than 7 decades of tensions, open warfare, and the constant threat of nuclear confrontation. You should know that on April 22, 2025, tensions between India and Pakistan flared up dramatically after a terrorist attack in the city of Pahalgam, which left 26 dead. This tragic event sparked a new wave of mutual accusations, immediate diplomatic retaliation, and armed clashes along the border known as the Line of Control. In this video, we will explore in detail the historical origins of the Indo-Pakistani dispute, the strategic and symbolic importance of Kashmir, the key wars and confrontations, and we'll conclude with an analysis of the April 22, 2025 attack in Pahalgam, the responses from both governments, the clashes along the Line of Control, and the risk of a nuclear war. Get ready, because this conflict is not easy to understand, but as always, I'll break it down in the clearest and most digestible way possible. The starting point of the conflict dates back to the independence and partition of British India in August 1947. The end of British colonial rule led to the creation of 2 sovereign states, a Hindu-majority India and a Muslim-majority Pakistan. Borders were hastily drawn, dividing provinces and communities, which triggered mass exoduses and one of the worst waves of sectarian violence of the 20th century. Millions of Muslims, Hindus and Sikhs were displaced from their homes or killed during the partition riots. It's also very important to understand the religious dimension of the conflict. The division was based on the two-nation theory proposed by Muhammad Ali Jinnah, which held that Hindus and Muslims were irreconcilably different communities with opposing religious philosophies, social customs, and literary traditions. After the partition, over 500 semi-autonomous princely states were left to decide whether to join India, Pakistan, or remain independent. Among them was the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir, ruled by a Hindu Maharaja, Hari Singh, but with a Muslim-majority population. Initially, the Maharaja sought to remain neutral, which created tensions both internally and with Pakistan. In October 1947, tribal militias and fighters from Pakistan invaded Kashmir in an attempt to forcibly annex it. In desperation, the Maharaja requested military assistance from India and agreed to sign the Instrument of Accession, formally integrating Kashmir into the Indian Union. This act triggered the First Indo-Pakistani War, also known as the First Kashmir War. The war, which lasted from 1947 to 1948, was intense and chaotic, with regular Pakistani troops supporting tribal forces against the newly formed Indian Army. After over a year of fighting, the war reached a stalemate. India brought the issue before the UN, which mediated a ceasefire. On January 1, 1949, the UN imposed a truce and drew a UN-supervised armistice line which split the former Kingdom of Kashmir into 2 zones. The northern and western areas fell under Pakistani control, later called Azad Jammu and Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan by Pakistan, while the central and southern zone, including the Val of Srinagar, remained under Indian control. As part of the UN agreement, a referendum or plebiscite was proposed to allow the people of Kashmir to decide their future, whether to join India, Pakistan, or become independent. However, this plebiscite was never held, and thus the core conflict was established from the beginning. 2 countries claiming all of Kashmir with a de facto dividing line and an unfulfilled promise of a public vote. Up to this point, are we good? Let me also say that Kashmir is not just a beautiful valley. It is a territory loaded with strategic, cultural, and emotional value for both India and Pakistan. For Pakistan, Kashmir should belong to it by demographics and proximity. For India, Kashmir's accession is legal and reflects its ideal of pluralism in a Hindu-majority country. In November 2008, Mumbai suffered a series of coordinated terrorist attacks that killed 166 people, including foreigners, at hotels and iconic sites. The attackers were linked to the Pakistan-based terrorist group Lashkar-e-Taiba, which infiltrated India by sea. India accused Pakistan of either being behind the attack or allowing extremist groups to operate on its soil, halting any diplomatic engagement. The last major crisis occurred in February 2019, when a suicide bomber from Jaish-e-Mohammed, a Pakistan-based Islamist group, attacked a convoy of Indian paramilitary police in Pulwama, Kashmir, killing 42 agents. This was the deadliest attack on Indian forces in decades and led India to once again cross a dangerous line. For the first time since 1971, Indian fighter jets entered Pakistani territory to bomb a suspected terrorist camp. Pakistan responded the next day with air raids and in the ensuing aerial duel managed to shoot down an Indian fighter jet, capturing its pilot. On April 22, 2025, the relative peace in Kashmir was broken in the worst possible way. That day, 3 heavily armed men from the insurgent group the Resistance Front carried out a terrorist attack on a tourist camp in Pahalgam, a picturesque town in Indian-administered Kashmir. Pahalgam, known for its mountain landscapes, became the scene of a massacre. The attackers opened fire indiscriminately on a group of tourists camping in a meadow. According to survivors, the terrorists interrogated some victims about their religion before killing them, separating Hindus from Muslims and specifically targeting Hindus. Regardless, this attack triggered a rapid escalation in India-Pakistan relations. India responded with a series of punitive measures against Pakistan. The government, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, accused Pakistan of having links to the attack, although no immediate public evidence was presented. India's actions included the suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty, the reduction of diplomatic ties, visa revocations, border closures, and security operations in Kashmir. In the latter, India launched a massive crackdown, arresting hundreds of suspects and demolishing at least 10 houses linked to Pakistani militants. Narendra Modi, the Indian Prime Minister, promised severe punishment and the destruction of terrorist shelters in a speech on April 26, 2025, without directly naming Pakistan. Pakistan firmly denied any involvement in the attack, calling India's accusations frivolous and baseless. In response, Pakistan also took drastic measures. It suspended the SEMA agreement, closed its airspace and trade routes, expelled many Indian diplomats, and its defense minister, Khawaja Asif, issued multiple warnings. On April 28, 2025, amid new gunfire at the border, Indian intelligence claimed to have detected suspicious movements in certain Pakistan-controlled sectors, suggesting that militants might be gathering to attempt infiltration. Pakistan, for its part, denounced that Indian drones briefly violated its airspace, a claim India denied. Of course, such small frictions could spiral out of control due to miscalculation. The UN reiterated its call for restraint. The leaders of both nations, however, maintained a defiant public stance. On April 27, Narendra Modi declared in another speech that every drop of Indian blood would be avenged. On the other side, the Pakistani army chief was photographed visiting frontline positions, stating that his soldiers were ready to respond to any aggression. As a final point to keep you updated, on April 30th, 2025, India issued a NOTAM, Notice to Airmen, closing its airspace to all aircraft registered, operated or leased by Pakistan, both civilian and military, from that date until May 23, 2025. This decision is a direct response to Pakistan's prior closure of its airspace to Indian airlines. Let me tell you, this is not a trivial measure, but a deeply alarming one. As in other conflicts, this kind of move is often a precursor to clearing airspace for military airstrikes without causing civilian casualties, and knowing that both sides have done it is even more concerning. Whenever India and Pakistan approach the brink of war, the most feared spectre immediately arises: the possibility of nuclear escalation. India maintains a no-first-use policy but promises massive retaliation if attacked. Pakistan, on the other hand, has not ruled out the first use of tactical nuclear weapons, especially if it faces a threat to its existence as a country. The 2025 escalation also brought another crucial issue to the forefront: the Indus Waters Treaty. India's decision to suspend it as pressure prompted Pakistan to say it would amount to a declaration of war. This shows how even essential elements of life are tied to security and can escalate into warfare. In summary, the image of two armies exchanging fire in the mountains of Kashmir with nuclear warheads in nearby silos is chilling. It's a reminder that until the fundamental dispute is resolved, the world must remain on edge every time New Delhi and Islamabad clash.